Close your eyes for just a moment. Take a breath. Feel the air move into your lungs. Feel your chest rise. Feel the warmth of your own heartbeat. Now understand something, truly understand it at the cellular, cosmic, so deep level that the very act of you being alive right now, reading these words, breathing this air, thinking these thoughts, is the single most improbable event in the entire history of the known universe. Scientists have calculated it. Philosophers have grappled with it. Mystics have wept over it. The probability that you, specifically you, with your exact DNA, your exact mind, your exact fingerprints and soul signature would exist is so astronomically small that no number we have in human language can adequately capture it. We call it 0, 001 in a trillion, but even that falls short. The real number is so close to 0 that mathematicians would simply write it off as impossible. And yet here you are, impossible, breathing, alive, reading this. The universe somehow bent its own rules to make room for you. Do you understand what that means? It means before you were born, before you took your first breath, before you cried your first cry, the cosmos itself conspired to bring you into existence. You were chosen, not randomly, not accidentally. You were chosen. Part 2. The ancient lottery you already won. Let us travel back in time, not years, not centuries, but billions of years. 14 billion years ago, the universe exploded into being. Stars were born and died in spectacular supernovas. Their ashes scattered across the void, eventually coalescing into planets, into oceans, into single-celled organisms that somehow decided to survive. Life, in all its stubbornness, clung to existence on this tiny blue rock. Over the course of 4 billion years, species rose and fell. Dinosaurs thundered across the earth and vanished. Ice ages came and wiped entire civilizations of creatures from the face of the planet. Through every extinction, through every catastrophe, through every ice age and meteor impact and volcanic winter, your lineage survived. Not just survived, thrived enough to reproduce. Every single one of your ancestors, going back to the very first living cell, made it through. Not one of them died before passing on their genetic legacy. The statistical improbability of an unbroken chain of survival stretching back for billion years. It's essentially infinite. Yet here you stand at the end of that chain, not as a random accident, but as the culmination of the greatest survival story ever told. You are the living, breathing proof that your bloodline refused to quit. You carry 4 billion years of winners inside your DNA. Let that truth rearrange the furniture in your soul. Part 3. The SMIC Selicord ion that shows your soul. But let us go deeper than biology, deeper than genetics, deeper than the physical, because the miracle of your existence is not merely mathematical, it is spiritual. Ancient traditions across every culture on earth have whispered the same secret in different languages, that souls are selected, not assigned. The Hindus speak of the soul choosing its incarnation from the highest planes of consciousness. The Sufis write of the Ra, the spirit descending from divine light into form. a voluntary plunge into the ocean of human experience. Indigenous wisdom keepers around the world speak of each life as a sacred assignment handed down from the Great Spirit, a specific mission given to a specific soul because that soul, and only that soul, has what is needed to fulfill it. You may have heard these ideas before and smiled politely, but I am asking you today to feel them. Not just think them, feel them. Because if you sit quietly, if you strip away the noise of everyday life, if you let the silence speak, you will notice something. You will notice that beneath all your doubts, beneath all your insecurities, beneath all the voices that tell you that you are ordinary and small and unremarkable, there is a quiet, unshakable knowing, a knowing that says, I am here for something. I have always been here for something. That knowing is not delusion. That knowing is memory, memory of the choosing. Part 4. What IT means to be the chosen O Northeast. We have a complicated relationship with the phrase the chosen one. Movies have made it into something grandiose, the hero who pulls the sword from the stone, the one who defeats the Dark Lord, the one whose destiny is written in prophecy and fulfilled in explosions of light. And because of this, most of us have quietly disqualified ourselves. We think, I am not that. I have no special powers. No prophecy has been written about me. No oracle has whispered my name. I am just a person trying to get through the week. But here is what those stories never tell you. Every single person on this earth is a chosen one. Not chosen for the same story. Not chosen for the same scale. But chosen for this exact life. This exact set of challenges, this exact constellation of gifts and wounds and longings. Your choosing is not less real because it is not cinematic. Your choosing is not less sacred because no one has made a movie about it. The cosmos does not operate on Hollywood's schedule. The universe is far more intimate than that. It chose you for the quiet moments, for the conversation you will have with a stranger that changes their life, for the child you will raise, for the art you will make, for the kindness you will extend on a Tuesday afternoon when no one is watching. These are not small things, these are everything. Part 5. The Mathematics of Divine Northeast Timing. Here is something that will rearrange your entire understanding of coincidence. The fact that you exist at all required not only an unbroken chain of biological survival, but an almost incomprehensible sequence of precise timing. Your parents had to meet at exactly the right moment, not a week earlier, not a month later, the exact moment. And for them to meet, their parents had to survive whatever storms their generation faced: wars, plagues, famines, heartbreaks, and find each other at exactly the right time. And their parents before them, and their parents before them. Trace it back far enough, and you reach a point where one ancestor survived a flood, or a battle, or a famine by the narrowest of margins, perhaps the difference of a single day, a single meal, a single random encounter, any one of those moments going differently. And you do not exist. The person reading these words simply does not come into being, and yet every domino fell in precisely the right direction. Every piece of timing aligned across hundreds of thousands of years of human history, across wars and migrations and plagues and revolutions. The universe kept pulling threads together, kept positioning people, kept engineering meetings and moments and miracles, all so that eventually, at this specific point in cosmic history, you would be born. Divine timing is not a metaphor. It is mathematics so complex it looks like magic. Part 6. Your wounds are part of the design. I need to pause here and speak to something important, because I know that for some of you, all of this talk of being chosen feels hollow. It feels like a beautiful story that doesn't match your life, because your life has not felt chosen. It has felt hard. It has felt painful. It has felt like you have been handed burdens that no one should have to carry. You have experienced loss, betrayal, failure, illness, loneliness. You have stood in the wreckage of things you loved and wondered what kind of cosmic selection would choose this for someone. And I will not offer you cheap comfort here. I will not tell you that everything happens for a reason in a way that dismisses your pain. But I will tell you this: the greatest souls in human history were not shaped in comfort. They were forged in fire. The oak tree does not become strong by being protected from the wind. It becomes strong because the wind came again and again, and the tree learned to root deeper. Your wounds are not evidence that you were forgotten by the universe. They are evidence that you were trusted to carry weight that would break others, trusted to walk through darkness and find the light, not because it was handed to you, but because you learned to generate it yourself. Your suffering is not punishment, it is initiation, and initiations, by their very nature, are not comfortable, they are transformative. Part 7. The gifts hidden in your specific design. Every human being arrives on this earth with a specific configuration of gifts, sensitivities, and ways of seeing the world that is entirely unique to them, not similar to others. Unique. There is no one else in the 7 billion people currently alive on this planet who perceives reality exactly as you do. No one who has your exact combination of intuitions, passions, fears, and longings. No one who finds beauty in exactly the same place as you do, or who feels called to exactly the same questions. This is not an accident of genetics. This is precision engineering by a universe that needed something that only you could provide. Think about the things that move you deeply, the causes that stir your heart, the injustices that make your blood run hot, the beauty that stops you in your tracks and makes your breath catch. Think about the ideas that excite you so much you forget to eat. Think about the moments when you lose all sense of time, because you are so absorbed in something that lights you up from the inside. Those are not random preferences. Those are maps. Those are the universe's way of pointing you toward your purpose, of whispering, here, this direction. This is where your particular light is needed most. The things that matter most to you, because you were built to do something about them. Your passions are your assignment. Your interests are your instructions. Part 8. The sacred responsibility of surviving impossible odds. When you truly absorb the reality of your statistical impossibility, when it moves from intellectual understanding into felt experience, something shifts. You begin to see your life not as something that happened to you, but as something you were trusted with. And with that trust comes responsibility, not the heavy, crushing kind of responsibility that contracts you, but the expansive, luminous kind that opens you up, the responsibility of someone who has been given an extraordinary gift and knows it. Think about what it would mean to truly live as though you know you beat odds of 0.001 in a trillion. Think about what it would mean to walk through your days with that awareness crackling beneath everything you do. You would not waste time on things that don't matter. You would not shrink yourself to feed other people's comfort. You would not spend years living a life designed by someone else's expectations. You would not lie awake at night rehearsing your fears, because you would know at the deepest level that a universe that worked this hard to get you here is not going to abandon you now. You would live with a boldness and a gratitude and a sense of sacred purpose that would be, quite literally, transformative, not just for you, for everyone around you, because when someone truly knows their worth, the whole world can feel it. Part 9 Northeast. You are living in the most extraordinary time. Here is another dimension of your choosing that deserves recognition. Not only were you chosen to exist, you were chosen to exist now. In this specific period of human history, at this specific intersection of technological possibility and spiritual awakening, at a time when humanity is facing its most profound crossroads, when the choices made by people alive today will determine the trajectory of civilization for centuries to come. You were not born in medieval times, toiling in fields with no access to the sum total of human knowledge. You were not born in an era when the vast majority of human potential was suppressed by systems of oppression that allowed almost no one to rise. You were born now at a time when a person with nothing but a phone and an internet connection can reach millions. When a person with a powerful enough idea can change the conversation. When the tools available to you are so extraordinary that previous generations would have called them magic. And yet, with all this power available, most people are using it to scroll past cat videos. The universe chose you for this moment specifically because it needs people who are awake, people who are aware of what is at stake. People who understand that they are not here by accident, and therefore cannot afford to live accidentally. You are not a bystander to history. You are a participant. You are a shaper. You are part of the answer to questions the world is still learning to ask. Part 10. The people who almost didn't make it. I want to tell you about a particular kind of chosen one, the one who should not have survived but did, the one who came into the world against all odds, born premature, born in a war zone, born to parents who were barely surviving themselves, born with a condition that doctors said would limit their entire life. Born into poverty so deep that every day was a negotiation with scarcity. Maybe that is your story. Maybe you know the particular flavor of arriving in this world already fighting. And if you are that person, if you have had to claw for every inch of ground, if survival itself has been your most exhausting daily practice, then I need you to hear this with every cell in your body. The fact that you are still here is not weakness. It is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is power so deep and so ancient that it cannot be named. You were built to survive things that were designed to stop you. The universe did not make you resilient as a side effect. The universe made you resilient as a central feature, because what you are meant to do on this earth requires a level of inner fortitude that can only be developed by surviving impossible things. Your hardship was not a mistake. It was your training, and you passed. Part 11. The ancestors who carried you here. Let us take a moment to honor the ones who came before you, the ones whose choices, whose survival, whose love, and sometimes whose suffering made your existence possible. Your great-great-grandparents who survived famine or war. Your grandparents who built something out of nothing, who worked hands raw so that the next generation might have a slightly easier start. Your parents, who were themselves improbable miracles, who somehow found each other in the vastness of the world and created you. Every one of them was a chosen one in their own time, fighting their own battles, carrying their own sacred assignments, and in ways both seen and unseen. They are still with you. The indigenous traditions speak of the ancestors as active presences, not passive memories. The ancient Yoruba concept of an ancestral spirit describes a living connection between the present and the past, a transmission of power and wisdom that flows forward through bloodlines. Even Western science has begun to confirm this through epigenetics, the study of how trauma and resilience are literally encoded in our DNA, passed from generation to generation. You carry your ancestors inside you. Their strength lives in your body. Their prayers for a better future were prayers for you. When you rise, you answer prayers that were spoken before you were born. When you succeed, you complete journeys that began long before your first breath. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You carry multitudes. Part 12. What blocks the chosen on Earth East from knowing their power? If all of this is true, if you are genuinely, provably, mathematically and spiritually impossible in the most extraordinary way, then why don't you feel it? Why does most of humanity walk through their days feeling small, stuck, ordinary, and powerless? What is the mechanism that takes a being of such cosmic improbability and convinces them that they are unremarkable? The answer is a combination of forces, some internal and some external, that conspire to keep you small. First, there is the simple fact of familiarity. You have lived inside your own experience for so long that it has become invisible to you. The miracle of your consciousness, the fact that you can think, feel, imagine, create, love, dream, has become so ordinary through repetition that you no longer see it for what it is. Second, there are the voices absorbed in childhood, reinforced by culture that told you to be realistic, to be modest, to not get too big for your boots. Third, there is the comparison trap, the endless, exhausting practice of measuring your insides against other people's outsides, which always makes you feel inadequate. And fourth, perhaps most insidiously, there is the wound of disconnection. When we are disconnected from the deeper truth of who we are and why we are here, we fill that void with distraction, with consumption, with the endless, hollow pursuit of things that cannot satisfy the soul's actual hunger. The cure for all of these is not more information. It is a return, a remembering, a coming home to what you already know. Part 13. The moment you Washington get up. There comes a moment it is different for everyone, but it comes for everyone who is willing when you wake up, not from sleep, from forgetting. It might happen during a crisis, when everything you thought defined you falls away and you are left with just your naked soul, and you discover that that soul is more than enough. It might happen in a moment of unexpected beauty, a sunset, a piece of music, a stranger's kindness that cracks you open to a bitter reality than you had been allowing yourself to inhabit. It might happen through a practice meditation, prayer, deep time in nature that slowly, gently dissolves the membrane between your ordinary mind and your deeper knowing. It might happen through loss, through illness, through near death, through the kind of grief that strips everything away and leaves you face to face with what actually matters. Whenever it happens and however it happens, the experience is similar, a sudden, overwhelming recognition that life is both more fragile and more sacred than you had been treating it, a recognition that time is not infinite, that the people you love will not always be here, that you will not always be here, and in the face of that recognition, something shifts, the small dramas fall away, the petty grievances dissolve. What remains is a clarity clean and bright as mountain air about who you are, what you are here for, and how you want to spend the unrepeatable miracle of your days. Part 14. How the chosen on Earth East moves through the world. When you truly inhabit your identity as a chosen one, not with arrogance, but with humble, grateful power, the way you move through the world changes. You begin to notice synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that seem to precisely time to be random. Opportunities appear at exactly the right moment. The right people show up. Doors open that seemed solidly shut. This is not magic in the supernatural sense, or perhaps it is, depending on your framework, but it is something real and observable. What is actually happening is this: when you align yourself with your purpose, when you stop fighting against your own design and start moving with it, you enter into a state of flow with the universe itself. You become less resistant and more receptive. You notice more because you are looking. You attract more because you are radiating. The universe has always been conspiring on your behalf, but you have to be awake to participate. A chosen one who is asleep is just a sleeping person. The choosing doesn't go away, but neither can it be activated. Your role is to wake up, to show up, to say yes to the life that is trying to come through you, to say, I am here, I am ready, use me. And when you say that with your whole heart, the universe moves, things shift, the impossible starts to happen, because from the universe perspective, The impossible has always been your specialty. Part 15. The daily practice of knowing who you are. Spiritual awakening is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice because the world we live in is loud, and loud things drown out quiet truths. The awareness that you are a cosmic miracle, that your life is sacred, that your presence on this earth is meaningful and purposeful. This awareness must be renewed, maintained, tended like a flame, not because the truth changes. The truth does not change, but your access to it can be blocked by the accumulated weight of ordinary days. So the chosen one, the awake one, the remembering one builds practices that keep them tethered to their deeper reality. Morning rituals that begin the day with intention rather than reaction. Meditation that creates space between stimulus and response. Time and nature that reminds the body of its connection to something larger than human constructs. Journaling that gives the inner voice a place to speak. Gratitude practice that trains the eye to see abundance even in scarcity. Community with others who are also choosing to be awake, who reflect your highest self back to you and call you upward. These are not optional add-ons for the spiritually curious, for someone who understands what is at stake, who understands that this life is the most improbable gift imaginable and that it is not infinite. These practices are as essential as eating and sleeping. You cannot afford to sleepwalk through the most extraordinary experience in the known universe. You were chosen to be here. Be here. Part 16. Your story is not finished. Wherever you are in your life right now, whatever has happened, whatever has not happened, whatever you have built and lost and rebuilt, your story is not finished. This seems obvious when stated plainly, but many of us live as though our story is in its final chapter, as though the failures of the past have already written the conclusion. As though the person we are today is the person we will always be. This is one of the most devastating lies the mind tells itself, and it is worth confronting directly. The greatest transformations in human history, in individual lives, and in civilizations have happened at moments when everything seemed lost, when the darkness was at its most complete. Just before the dawn broke, the caterpillar does not know it is becoming a butterfly. From the inside, it just knows that everything it was has dissolved. That can feel like dying, but it is not dying. It is becoming. You may be in that place right now. Everything familiar may have dissolved. The person you thought you were may no longer feel like a feat. The life you thought you were building may have revealed itself to be the wrong life. And if that is where you are, I want you to hear this as clearly as I can say it. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are in the most necessary, most uncomfortable, most sacred part of the chosen one's journey, the part that comes just before everything changes. Part 17. The call that northeast first stops calling. Deep inside every human being, beneath the noise and the numbing and the distraction, there is a call. You have heard it. You know what I am talking about. It is the persistent, quiet, unignorable voice that says, there is something more. There is something I am meant to do. There is a version of my life that I have not yet lived, and it is calling me toward it. Most people hear this voice and turn away. The turning away takes many forms. Staying in the wrong relationship because the known pain is more comfortable than the unknown possibility. Staying in the job that is slowly killing your spirit because at least it pays the bills. Staying in the city, the routine, the identity that you have outgrown because leaving it requires becoming someone you are not yet sure how to be. And each time you turn away from the call, it gets a little harder to hear. Not because it stops calling, the call never stops, but because you build better walls against it, better distractions, better rationalizations, until one day, and this day will come, because the call is patient, the walls come down, and there you are, face to face with the voice you have been avoiding, and it says, I have been waiting. I knew you would come back. Now, are you ready? The chosen one is the one who eventually says yes, not because they feel ready. They never feel ready, but because they are more afraid of never having answered than they are of the answer itself. Part 18. The universe is betting on you. I want you to understand something about the way the universe operates. It does not invest in things it does not believe in. It does not spend 14 billion years building toward a specific outcome and then abandon the project at the final hour. If the cosmos conspired to bring you into existence against odds so astronomical they defy comprehension, if it engineered the meeting of your parents and their parents and their parents across millennia and continents and catastrophes, then it is not done with you yet. The universe is not finished. You are not a project it started and gave up on. You are an ongoing creation. And right now, in whatever circumstances you are in, whatever challenges you are facing, whatever darkness you are navigating, the universe is still at work, still placing the right people on your path, still engineering the synchronicities that will crack the right doors open, still whispering through your intuition, pointing you in the direction of your highest expression. You are not alone in this. You have never been alone in this. The same force that created galaxies is the force that is moving in your life right now. It brought you this far. It will not stop here. The question is not whether the universe believes in you. The question is whether you believe in it and in yourself enough to keep going, because the chosen one is not the one who never doubts. It is the one who doubts and goes anyway. Part 9. Northeastine. A message to the Northeast who is tired. I want to speak now directly to the one who is tired, because that person is reading this too. The one who has been fighting for so long that they can barely remember what they were fighting for. The one whose hope has been delayed so many times that hope itself has started to feel like a cruel joke. The one who is doing everything right and still feels like they are running in place. The one who looks at their life and sees the gap between where they are and where they know they are supposed to be, and that gap feels unbearable. If that is you, if you are in that place right now, I am not going to tell you to think positive. I am not going to tell you that everything happens for a reason in a way that minimizes what you are carrying. I am going to tell you something that I hope lands like medicine in the deepest part of you. Being tired is not the same as being finished. Being exhausted is not evidence that you were wrong to try. Being in pain is not evidence that you are broken. Some of the most powerful moments of transformation in a human life come immediately after the point of maximum exhaustion, when there is nothing left to fight with except raw, essential self, when the ego has run out of strategies and the soul finally gets to drive. Rest if you need to rest. Let yourself feel what you feel, but do not confuse a pause with an ending. You are still in the story, and the best chapters, the ones that make everything that came before make sense, have not been written yet. Part 20. The Legacy of the Chosen or Northeast. Let us end by talking about legacy, not legacy in the grandiose sense of statues and history books, though for some of you reading this, that is indeed what you are here for, but legacy in the truest sense, the impact your existence leaves on the world, the ripples of your one life. Every person you have ever comforted has been changed by that comfort. Every moment of genuine kindness you have ever extended has altered the trajectory of another soul. Every time you chose honesty over convenience, courage over comfort, love over fear, that choice sent ripples forward in time in ways you will never fully trace but which are absolutely real. The chosen one does not need an audience to matter. The chosen one does not need millions of followers to leave a legacy. The teacher who changes one student's relationship with learning, that teacher has altered the course of history. Because that student will go on to do things that would not have happened without that teacher's gift. The parent who shows up with love and consistency and presence, that parent has broken generational cycles, has handed their children a different inheritance than they received, has changed the story for everyone who comes after. This is chosen one energy. This is what it looks like in real life, not in cinematic explosions, but in the quiet, daily, fiercely committed decision to be the best version of yourself, to give what you were given, to leave every person and every place you touch slightly better than you found it. That is the mission. That has always been the mission. And you with your 0.001 in a trillion odds, you with your impossible, miraculous, unrepeatable existence, you are exactly the right person for it. Epilogue. Remember who you are. So let this be your reminder. On the days when you forget, let this be the voice that cuts through the noise. When the world gets too loud and you lose the thread back to yourself. You are not an accident. You are not ordinary. You are not too late, too broken, too damaged, too different, or too far behind. You are a conscious being who beat odds so impossible that the universe itself should have said no, and it said yes instead. It said yes to you. It has been saying yes to you since before you were born. Through every ancestor who survived, through every moment of precise timing, through every narrow escape, through every door that opened and every door that closed, guiding you, always guiding you toward the fullness of what you are meant to be. You are the culmination of an unbroken 4 billion-year chain of life that refused to quit. You carry the prayers of your ancestors in your blood. You carry the light of the cosmos in your consciousness. You are a chosen one, not because you are perfect, not because you have it figured out, Not because you have never failed or never been afraid, but because you are here. And being here is the rarest, most extraordinary, most sacred thing there is. Remember who you are. Act accordingly. The world has been waiting. It has, in a very real sense, been waiting since the beginning of time for exactly what only you can give it. Go, give it. The odds were impossible. You made it anyway. Now live like you know that, because knowing it, truly knowing it, changes everything. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Jeremiah 1-5. The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. Joseph Campbell. You are the universe experiencing itself. Alan Watts.